What if the decision to invest in your education is the very thing that quietly holds you back for years? Before you scroll away, if you have ever considered taking a student loan, this might change how you see it completely. I remember being told that going to college was the safest path to a successful and stable future. Everyone around me believed it. Teachers, parents, even friends who were just as uncertain as I was. And student loans were always presented as a normal part of that journey, almost like a necessary step. It was never framed as debt in a dangerous sense, but as an investment in yourself and your future. That idea sounds powerful, because who would not want to invest in becoming more successful? You are told that education opens doors, increases your income, and gives you better opportunities. So borrowing money to access that future starts to feel not just acceptable, but actually smart. And when everyone around you repeats the same message, it becomes very hard to question it. Because if something is considered normal by society, it rarely feels risky in the moment. But here is the part that most people do not fully understand when making that decision. You are not just choosing a school or a degree, you are signing a long-term financial commitment. And the numbers involved are often much larger than you truly grasp at that age. When you see tuition broken down by semester or by year, it feels more manageable than it actually is. But when those numbers are added together, they become a significant amount of money over time. And yet, at that stage in life, most people have never managed that level of financial responsibility. So instead of evaluating the full cost, you focus on the promise attached to it. The promise that your future self will earn more, do better, and easily handle the repayment. This belief creates a sense of comfort that allows you to move forward without hesitation. You assume that the investment will pay off, because that is what you have always been told. But here is where things become more complicated than they initially appear. Not all degrees lead to the same opportunities, and not all opportunities lead to high income. The path from education to financial success is not as guaranteed as it is often presented. And yet the loan you take is very real, very fixed, and very unforgiving over time. It does not adjust based on your career outcome or how quickly you find stability. It simply exists, waiting for the moment you are expected to start paying it back. And during the time you are studying, it feels distant, almost like a problem for another version of you. But that future version is still you, just dealing with consequences you decided not to fully question. And this is where the illusion begins, because it feels like a smart investment, but it is also a serious risk. A risk that is easy to overlook when all you can see is the promise of a better future ahead. Now here is what happens after graduation, and this is where everything starts to feel very different. While you are studying, the loan feels distant, almost like it is not part of your real life yet. But the moment you graduate, that number becomes real, and the payments begin. Suddenly, what once felt like an investment turns into a monthly obligation you cannot ignore. And for many people, this is the first time they truly understand what they signed up for. Because the job you imagined does not always appear as quickly as you expected. Or the salary is lower than what you were led to believe during your studies. So now you are trying to build your life while also carrying a financial weight every single month. You need to pay rent, cover living expenses, and at the same time repay your loan. And this is where the pressure begins to shape your decisions in ways you did not expect. You might take a job you do not enjoy simply because it pays enough to cover your obligations. You might delay moving out, traveling, or investing because your money is already committed. Even small choices start to feel heavier because part of your income is not really yours. It is already assigned to a decision you made years ago under very different circumstances. And then there is interest, quietly increasing the total amount you actually end up paying. What you borrowed is not what you repay, and the difference can be much larger than expected. Because over time, that cost grows, especially if your payments are slow or inconsistent. This is how a loan that once felt manageable turns into something that follows you for years. And the longer it stays with you, the more it influences your financial flexibility. You might want to start a business, but the risk feels too high with debt in the background. You might want to invest, but your priority becomes paying down what you owe first. This is where the realization starts to settle in for many people. The degree may have value, but the financial burden is also very real. And the return on that investment is not always as high or as fast as expected. Some people do benefit greatly, but many others find themselves in a slower, more difficult path. And that difference often comes down to choices that were never clearly explained in the beginning. Because nobody really sat down and asked, what will this cost you, and what will it realistically return? And without that clarity, it is easy to walk into a long-term commitment without fully understanding it, which is why so many people only begin to question student loans after they are already in them. Now, here is the question that actually matters. Are student loans worth it, or are they a mistake you should avoid? The honest answer is that it depends, but not in the vague way most people explain it. It depends on how you think about the decision before you ever sign the loan. Because this is not just an education decision, it is a financial decision with long-term consequences. The first thing you need to understand is that not all degrees have the same financial return. Some paths lead to higher income opportunities, while others may take longer to become stable. So if you are borrowing money, you need to think about the realistic income that follows that choice. Not the best case scenario, not the dream outcome, but the average and likely path. Because your loan will not adjust based on your hopes, it will follow the numbers you agreed to. The second thing to consider is the total cost, not just the yearly or monthly breakdown. You need to see the full amount you will repay, including interest over time. That number tells you the real price of your decision, not the smaller pieces shown up front. And once you see it clearly, you can start comparing it to the value you expect to receive. The third thing is exploring ways to reduce that cost before committing fully. Scholarships, lower-cost schools, part-time work, or alternative paths can all make a difference. Because the less you borrow, the less pressure you carry into your future life. This is not about avoiding education. It is about approaching it with awareness and strategy. You're not just choosing what to study, you are choosing how much risk you are willing to take. And that shift in thinking changes everything about how you make the decision. Because now you are not blindly following a path, you are actively evaluating it. You begin to ask better questions. Not just, where do I want to go, but what will this cost me later? And whether that cost aligns with the life you actually want to build. Some people will decide it is worth it, and for them, it can absolutely pay off over time. But others may realize there are smarter or less risky ways to reach similar goals. And both choices are valid, as long as they are made with full understanding. So if this made you rethink how you see student loans, I would love to hear your thoughts below. And if you think more people should understand this before making a decision, share this video with them. Also consider following the channel, because we break down financial choices in simple ways you can actually use. Because at the end of the day, a good investment is not just about potential, it is about clarity and control.